Hola Comunidad. Community, welcome to BlenderToday 2025. It's the beginning of a something we started like 6-7 years ago. Weekly live streams on what's new in Blender on the community. We're streaming live from the Blender HQ. Please let me know if anything it's okay, because I no sound now it's the trolling in the chat. Let me know if everything goes okay. There was a bit of a gap between episodes last year. This year, I plan to bring back this on a more frequent basis, let's say 2 times every other week or so. Let me know how it goes. Other than that, like 2024. We didn't do live streams on 2024, but the things were happening. 3 releases: Blender 4.1, 4.2, LTS, 4.3. LTS already has like 6 versions or 5 versions. There is a new one coming out soon. 4.3. We had EEVEE Next. We had Grease Pencil 3, the Compositor, the rewrite of the Compositor. It's just so much happened. This year, we are supposed to see Blender 5 at the end of the year in November. If everything goes according to plan. Anyways, let's go a little bit on the what happened and what's planned for this year. I'm all by myself today. We're not going to have any guests, so but I'm not by myself. Here you are. This is a live stream. Remember that it's split in 3 parts. We have announcements. We have everything that is new in Blender as of last week or 2 weeks. This time, I'm actually going to go through everything new that is in Blender 4.4. I might regret saying this because it's going to be a bit long, but I'll try. Then we're going to go on Q&A, on questions, and see what you're wondering about what's going on here at the HQ and in Blender in general. This year also, before we even start, announcements. Blender Conference, for the first time in forever, it's not going to be in October this year. It's always been in October. Sometimes two times happened on the 12th, the first conference ever, and then the anniversary. We also do it around that time. Then we moved it to the end of October when the daylight saving changes here in Europe, at least. So we get 1 extra hour. However, this year will be moved to September. So it's supposed to be better weather overall, and a bit closer to nicer weather here in Amsterdam. It is in September, so make sure that you plan ahead if you have to take holidays. Still gonna be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Just a heads up. So let me know if you need any more news on that. Go to conference.blender.org. Otherwise, let's switch. Hey, how's going, chat? I have the chat right here, so I am reading what's anything that it's happening on the chat, but I try to focus this year. So stroke of genius. We have Blender 4.3. This is a Grease Pencil 3 splash, because we are like, it was Grease Pencil 3. Everything was about this version in 4.3. The projects to look forward to: Project Gold came out. Then a whole bunch of blog posts on development also happened, from workshops to Sculpt, news in Sculpt in optimizations, geometry nodes. This is more like planning. The brush assets project happened as well last year. It's just was a pretty big update. Storytelling tools, yes, Violeta, storytelling tools. That's one of the goals, projects to look forward to. So this is one of the blog posts that usually happens at the end of the year. It's or at the beginning of usually Dalai. In the past, it was Ton that would announce some of this. It would also mention some of the projects that happened last year. Last year was pretty exciting because for once, the focus was on actually finishing the projects that were happening, that were announced and were happening in that year, which was the extension platform, GPU Compositor. It's now in 4.4. Extensions also in 4.2. EEVEE Next. Pretty much everything here happened in one way or another. The future of animation, it's here. We are living in the future, actually. The other big thing, it's the Winter of Quality project, which, you know how Google has the Summit of Code which is this program where they give some money to developers that are studying, not anymore just students, but anyone that wants to contribute to an open source project. This case, Blender has been participating on it since the very first one. So developers decided to do, okay, what if it's summer of code, then winter of something else? In this case, quality. Quality over quantity. What is quality? Well, bug fixing. So anything that makes your Blender more stable will happen, and it is happening already. I was talking to Folk this morning about how the Grease Pencil already had like over 90 nearly 100 bugs fixed, actual bugs, not close reports, but actually close reports is over the hundreds, but close bugs. And last night, I mean, even just not that far off, I was rendering this at home and I had a crash because there was some legacy node that crashed basically in the Compositor here. So I posted it last night at 1 a.m. and then 3 people got involved. So first Pratik was confirming the crash, found which commit was the crash coming from. Then it was by Aras. So Aras joined and he's like, hey, this is a stack. This is happening in a part of the code where I'm not familiar with. So Omar from the Compositor module joined, and then he found the issue and then he fixed it, and now it's fixed for everyone from last night in less than 24 hours. This is awesome when things like this happen. And this fix was actually pretty easy to find because the file that I reported, it only had one node and you would crash with that one node. So it's a reminder that this time of the year, let's hope we continue doing it every year, and every year it has to take less time because there's less bugs to fix. But I think it's going to be something that was going to happen often, like something to do at the end of the year. Most of the paid developers are in this time zone where it's winter. So it is not time zone, but part of the globe where it is winter. So it is a good time to sit down and go on the fixing side of things. So that is a call for bug reporting. If you have any bugs, this is a perfect time to report them. Please go report them. Even paper cuts, things that, okay, it's a bug, it's not really a bug, or maybe, report them, because developers are full on fixing mode. Actually, so much so that anything that is new in Blender 4.4, it's mainly related to paper cuts, bug fixes. The fixes themselves, they are not mentioned in this list, but you can see them. If you go to projects.blender.org, check on Blender, you will see in the list of commits that is mainly about fixes and some tweaks in here and there, like on the Blender on the UI side of things. We on the UI module, we are trying to focus on even like small quality of life improvements. There's a few patches going on, but you can see fix, clean up. It's also clean up. And documentation. Developers also are focusing on documenting part of the code that were not before, but even small things like this is adding icons to a part of like the batch rename operator. This is not a fix, but it makes things easier, especially when you're using Blender on a like translated. If you're not an English speaker and you're using in a different language, this makes it easy to recognize. And this was inspired by actually a tweet from one of the developers for V4 Artists, where they did that. It's like, hey, you could have submitted as a pull request, but I'm gonna copy or inspire your application. This kind of things are all over the place. Just fixes. Blender 4.4 is going to be the most stable release ever, I think. And so please go report issues. All right, other announcements, not so many. The projects to look forward are, some of them you're already familiar with, the node system related to integrating the node trees. So things setups for the shader editor could work better with the compositor and geometry nodes. Hair dynamics, this has been a milestone from that we developers want to achieve for a few years now, I think. So nothing new in that regard. And project, being able to define variables for projects. Right now, every blend file, it's its own thing. It doesn't know about other blend files. So ideally, there should be a way to set this up, and in a way that you can set a variable like, here are my textures, and then other files related to that project can use that variable. Remote assets. This is similar to, well, there's already a blog post for you can read more there. Actually, we wrote this blog post with Delight last year. We had a little workshop with variants and how it could work. Basically, an asset library that you can use, you can get from the internet in Blender. Overrides, improving the override, that's a never-ending task. Performance, EEVEE Next, it's awesome, but it is slow. There's a few things that could be improved, like compilation of shaders, parallel combination of shaders, issues with shader cache, and so on. Shape is also could use some improvements there. That's another project. In terms of, I think it's performance. Sculpting, multi-res, improving multi-res. Once that is done, I think sculpting layers is the very next project. The reason why they can't start with sculpting layers is because you need some of the work that should be done for multi-res first. Tablet pen support. This is basically better support for anything that has to do with pen, with display tablets, with accessing Blender, using Blender without a keyboard. Wouldn't that be awesome? Because one day, maybe, who knows, in the future, portable devices could support Blender. Just saying. Interpret that as however you want that. Story tools. This is the project basically that it connects many parts, right? It connects the sequence editor, grease pencil, and like the editorial part of Blender to make Blender into a storytelling tool, which already is, but it could be easier. There's an add-on that helps with that, but it could be integrated natively in Blender for making storyboards, animatics, and so on. It's so much fun to read on the chat. Thanks everyone for the nice messages. Ongoing projects, well, rendering as always, cycles, NPR. Dylan Gu is taking over this. Dylan Gu Studios is taking over the NPR side of things of Blender, and they're gonna contribute back to Blender. So right now they have a fork, but the idea is to bring back that into Blender. Wouldn't that be nice? It's actually happening. They have a video on it. If you search for Dylan Gu Blender, they had a video. We're changing Blender forever. You should watch this. Yes. They are changing Blender forever. So you should check it out. I'm gonna share it in the chat so you can also watch it. I realize I'm not sharing audio from YouTube. Okay. So next. The Lungu, yes. Vulkan. Well, Vulkan, it's something that it has been it's been worked on since long. They updating basically the entire way Blender draws and shows the viewport and the UI and everything from OpenGL to Vulkan. But it is going pretty well actually. There is an update from 2023. There will be a presentation at Vulkanized, and you can read more there. But yes, it is happening. UV syncing and other improvements. Yes, UV in syncing the selection and the viewport. HDR support in all the editors, so you can do high dynamic range editing in all the editors. Hopefully with visualization too. This now only works on Mac, not on Windows or Linux. Layered animation, yes, basically bringing, well, that might happen maybe towards the end of the year or next year, I would say. But the new system, the new animation system is already in Blender and already supports layers, just the one layer. And one improvement in 4.4 is going to be slotted actions, which I'm going to show you in a bit. Then USD, GLTF, Blender 5.0, backward compatible changes. Yes, changes. Blender 5.0 is coming, so it's a time to do some spring cleaning, but towards the end of the year. So it's going to be Southern Hemisphere spring cleaning, I think. Spring in the south is in September, the 21st of September, actually. So cheers. Let's continue. This year is going to have Blender 4.4 coming out in March now. Like, actually, the beta of 4.4, it's in 3 weeks on Blender. I'm naming Blender one of the months. February 5th goes beta, which means 4.5 starts alpha release, which will come out in July, right after NSE, before SIGGRAPH, around that time. And then Blender 5, hopefully in November. I say hopefully because you never know with development and with big versions, you know. But other than that, let's see what's new in Blender 4.4. Because what else I had to show? The studio, the Blender Studio has a few new projects. You can actually read on them. One of them actually even involves Godot, like interactive. That the one I just shared, the dog walk, it's gonna be Godot, like Godot engine, Blender, another Blender game engine. I hope it. Last time we tried to use another game engine for a project, it didn't turn out so well. That was in 2008. I was involved in that project. I remember like it was yesterday. And this time Godot is a lot more mature and it plays much nicer with Blender. However, you can't deny how much more convenient Blender game engine is. Just say. It's in there. It's right there. Play, done. Anyways, go. Blender 4.0, 4.4. Let's go in order. It's okay. So I usually, if it's the first time watching this, I usually actually look at the commits that happened in the last week or 2 weeks, and then I make a list. I share the entire list, but because it's been almost a year since I do this, I'm gonna go through Blender 4.4. I'm not gonna go through 4.3 and 4.2, the other 2 releases, and 4.1, the 3 releases that happened last year. Actually, one thing that we did this year, actually last year, is in the release notes page, we now include the dates. So you can show your friends and family. You can say, hey mom, do you know how many releases Blender had in 2024? Well, you can look at it. 1, 2, 3. In 2023, 1, 2, 3. In 2022, there were 4 Blender releases, and your mom may say, isn't that a bit much? And you would say, yes, it was. So then that's why it was changed to 3 releases a year. But anyways, it's so cool to see all the way back to 2.80, July 2019. Feels like a different planet. Let's move on. Animation and rigging. This is one of the features that it's happening in Blender 4.4, because let's remember we are on the winter of quality. We shouldn't call it winter. Half of the planet, literally half of the planet, is not winter. Campbell is not in winter now, so it should be the season of quality bug fixes, which is the reason for you to report bugs. Please do it. Please report. Please. I know it's annoying. I did it yesterday. It's a pain sometimes because you have to find where's the bug. I made a video about it. It's on this channel, on the YouTube, the Blender Developers YouTube channel. The fastest way is to delete things that you think it's not gonna happen. For example, my bug report was on the Compositor, but I didn't know. I rendered and it would crash. So what I did was, okay, first, where is the bug? In the mesh, in the render, or in the compositing? So I deleted all the objects. render, still crash. Cool. That's how I found out. But you could do the other way around. Then, okay, it's not in the rendering, it's not in compositing. So you delete the compositing and then you start removing objects until you find which one is a trouble one. Anyways, winter is cool. Nice nipple. Following your chat here. Slotted actions, one of the main and only big features on Blender 4.4, other than the bug fixes, which is also huge. But slotted actions in a nutshell, well, actually you can read about it in the manual because they are updating the manual as they go, which is super nice. But in a nutshell it's like if you had multiple actions inside one action, but it's not that, because you still have one action, but they have multiple slots inside. So in the past, if you wanted to, for example, I wanted to animate that camera to move around and then zoom in, that would be two actions, because one is for the object moving and one is for the object data, the lens, zooming in. So that is two actions, and you couldn't animate them both at the same time. You have to use the dope sheet, which sometimes is more cumbersome because it shows other things. So now you can group that into one action. So it's easy to share as well. You only work with one action. So you will have the action for camera, and then inside you will have camera transform, camera data, and so on and so forth. Here, for example, you can see it. You can see the camera, not there. Here you can see the camera action, and then on the right you can see the camera slot. You can tell because it has like a little strip coming down from it. And here you see the summary, camera, object transform, camera, all the slots. All right, everything else is related to that. All the old files are going to be transformed into it. You don't have to do anything. Blender will do everything for you under the hood. And there's some Python API stuff to keep in mind, but as a user, you just use it and enjoy it. Bone collection membership. Okay, let's switch to rigging. This bone collection membership is now mirrored when symmetering an armature. Nice. Symmetrizing now keeps in mind the collection membership. That's more like a fix. You see, this is the season of fixes. And the graph editor. In the graph editor, the algorithm for generating the values of the F-curve noise modifier has been updated. This was in response to a bug report. Now the values don't exceed this range anymore, -5 to -0.5 to 0.5. Doing so added two new properties that control the look of the noise, lacunarity and roughness. So bug fix plus a, there is even a manual entry. How amazing the human being that did this is. Beautiful. Thank you. So keep an eye. Well, keep an eye that the noise modifier is gonna look different, probably. But you wouldn't render half of that animation in 4.3 and half in 4.4. That I wouldn't do that. Constraints, relationship lines for the constraints between the object and the constraint target are no longer drawn when there is no target. That also sounds like a bug fix. So apparently, okay, yeah, it is a bug fix. So yeah, there were lines even when there was no target. Okay, crazy. Bug fixes, so nice. Isn't that okay? Please, I think most, well, from my years of experience with the community, I think most of the community will be happy to have a release that is focused on stability rather than new features. But please make some noise and appreciation if you think the same. Not here in the chat, but in the socials, right? Like on Blue Sky. Blender has a Blue Sky account now, by the way. On Twitter, on Facebook, on whatever. Hey, did you know that developers are actually focusing on stability this time? Yes. Next, added. The Compositor added integer sockets are now supported in the Compositor. Nice. That's the same as geometry nodes. So the green ones, I don't know if there is a render, an image. The green ones, the integer. Expose the quality option of the open image denoise on the denoise node. Nice. This allows users to make trade-off between quality and performance of denoising in the compositor, similar to what you can be already done for Cycles render. Nice. An option to tweak the quality of the open image denoise. So what has changed? The glare node was revamped to provide a better user experience and more flexible control. All right. Node options are now single value inputs that can be linked. Oh, nice. Wait, can we just see this in action? Oh, I opened the wrong Blender. Let's see Blender. Can I move this over here? Let's see what's, how does it look now, actually? I am curious. Glare. Oh, wow, nice. Okay, here you can see the... Did you know that now you can snap the horizontal scale transforming of a node if you hold control? Super nice. And now, oh, nice. All of these are actually inputs. Flexibility for the win. Before it was just, yeah, hard-coded. These are the integer ones, the green ones. Nice. So everything is inputs, the generated glare, and the highlights are there outputs now. So image is the combination of both the image and the effect, and glare outputs only the glare and highlight only the highlights. Nice. So you don't have that mix slider anymore, I guess. Nice. A new strength input now controls the strength of the glare and can boost the glare power. Neat. Where is the strength? Here, adjust strength. And I guess you can, yeah, you can bump it. 50 glare. I bet this is gonna render great. No artifacts, for sure. Fog glow is now linear relative to the image size and can have any size. Bloom is now linear and relative to the image size. Bloom now conserves energy better and has a more reasonable output range. Hey, Bloom. I hope this makes up for the change in EEVEE Bloom or at least helps to make up a bit. Not as easy as having one toggle, but hey. The saturation and tint of the glare now is controlled using the new saturation and tint single value. This saturation and the tint, you can actually change the color from here. Neat. So that's closer to the bloom from EEVEE in Legacy. The highlights can now be clamped and smooth. The inputs are now organized into panels for compactness and clarity. So nice. All right, compatibility. The glare node options were turned into inputs and are now deprecated and will now will be removed in a future version. The options. I guess this will be Blender 5.0, just a heads up. The fog, glow, and bloom modes of the glare node were corrected due to revamped glare node, but the input image size was assumed to be render size during correction. Since guessing the real input size was difficult, if this was not the case, during turning the size and extract inputs should restore the old result. Neat. Let's switch to core. Forgot to do the sound before. I really miss Legacy EEVEE Bloom, so I appreciate any improvements on that front. I also miss it, and developers are aware. We had some discussions with Dalai or other developers on how to. It was a question here in the chat about it. There are many ways to go about it. I mean, having a node is much more flexible, but maybe having an asset that could have some Python in it that could expose it on the sidebar or something like that. Yeah, just to have both the flexibility of the compositor and the whole system. Couldn't hear the intro. Oh, come on. Let's see. Let's see now. Hey, okay, cool. So you missed the intro. Do you want to hear the intro? You're gonna hear the outro at least now. But sorry about that. Ah yeah, you're also not hearing the the music I was listening to. I love computers. Isn't it crazy how there's not a perfect system nowadays? As in, like, no operating system is perfect. They all have issues. Just computers. Environment variables. The core changes in Blender include the Blender system scripts now supports multiple paths separated by semicolon on Windows and semicolon on macOS and Linux. Neat. The Blender custom splash variable replaces the splash screen with the given image file, and Blender custom splash banner to overlay an image on the splash. In production, okay, this is for production environments where a modified splash can help communicate what Blender was configured for a particular studio. That's interesting. Cool. So, and it's going to contribute by Sony? Hello, I did not know. Thank you, Sony. I was hoping you could continue, you could contribute, you know, something. It is exciting. I'm not gonna say changing the splash screen of Blender is not exciting, but coming from Sony, if let's see more PRs coming. That's so cool. So, anyways, you can change without compiling Blender. You can change your your splash screen now. Awesome. Cool. Neat. So cool. Thank you, Sony. Videos can now render using H.265 HEVC high. What is it? Encoding video high efficiency video encoding. High efficiency video coding. EXR images that use WAA, WAB conversion codec now have a quality setting. Previous behavior always saved them at 97 quality. Nice. New options. Render audio operator can now render to AAC format. And also when using Matroska or OGG format, it can now use the Opus audio codec. Cool. Nice. Thank you, Aras. AAC. Wasn't Blender wasn't able to render AAC before? Ah, no, the render audio operator. I thought you could output AAC, but interesting. Awesome. Things I've never noticed. Good to hear. EXR images, 97%. Let's look at that also. Nice. So nice. New presets now. Thank you, Aras. Let's see what else is new this time in cycles. Denoising. Update the NVIDIA Optics denoiser type, bringing improved denoising quality. Improvements in denoising quality can manifest as a more consistent denoising, more accurate colors, better retention to detail, and less denoising blotching. In some situations, denoising quality can decrease. Okay, which situations? Anyways, remember that if you have an NVIDIA Optics compatible graphics card, this will be used, like Blender by default, it does automatic switching. So for the viewport, it will use the optics denoiser, and then for the final render, it would use the open image denoiser, which often gives you better results. So yeah, at the final render shouldn't change. But let me double check that. Let me switch to I have Blender, I have Cycles disabled. I hate that Cycles is still an add-on. Come on. There you go. So when you start Blender Lite, it disables the add-on and then you have to enable it back every time. If any developer has a workaround for that, let me know. Okay, so denoiser. So open. I'm on a Mac, so I don't have the optics. But yeah, it should give you the option here if you have on a compatible system. That's why there is a drop down with just the one option. 5090. I use RTX. Are the people with the 5090? Did you know? Watch out for the white screen. Did you know that there are results, 3 results already, of the 5090? RTX 5090 is not even out yet. Well, it's out for review, but I don't know if it's out for. I don't think it's out for sale yet. But it's people have been already running the Blender benchmark, which you can run too, by the way, if you want. 5090 scores 14,851 score points, and a 4090 almost 11,000. So it is a big improvement, but it also increases energy consumed. But it also has DLSS 4, and I don't think I'm gonna upgrade per se myself, but maybe until there is a bit more options. But it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. And hopefully the 4090s will go down in price. And the 5090 has 32 gigs of VRAM compared to 24 in the 4090. So there are reasons to upgrade. But I don't even know how much it's gonna be. Let's continue. I'm just waiting for the Switch 2, by the way. I hope it can. No, I don't think it's gonna run Blender, but sample subset. What is this? To correctly distribute the blue noise sampling pattern across multiple computers, the sample offset feature has been modified. There is now a sample subset toggle with both offset and sampling length. Scripts for distributed rendering using the feature need to be updated. Wait, isn't this exposing the... No, it was... Yeah, it is. Render a subset of the specified max samples typically used. Wow, so you can actually render, because this option, where is it? It's in cycles, add-on properties, sample subset, sample offset. In which panel is this? Because cycles render settings. Interesting, because this is awesome for rendering on like multiple chunks of samples, and then putting them all together. You offset them. So if you have one computer rendering sample from 0 to 100, then you have another computer from 1 to 200, and so on and so forth. So you can have multiple, like a render farm rendering chunks, and then you put them together in compositing. So that process you have to use. Previously you have to use a Python command, but now seems to be exposed. Oh, it's a new sample subset panel, which is a child of the sampling advanced. Oh, it's a subpanel of a subpanel. Advanced sample subset, and then you can choose the offset and the length. Neat. All right, good to know. Let's see what else is new and other. On Linux, the minimum ROCm version required to use HIP on AMD GPUs has increased to 6.0. And next, let's see what's new in EEVEE and the viewport. Overlays. The overlays have been rewritten for very constant. Oh yeah, this was a huge project, which you're not gonna see much of a difference in yet, but it is a complete rewrite of the overlay. So basically it's an overlay next. It's a new engine completely, but it replaces the overlay. So an overlay is pretty much everything that you see that is not part of the geometry, but everything that is like the UI, everything, like the mesh, the wires, That's an overlay. And everything in the overlay panel, of course. So what are the changes? Object origins now always draw on top of the edit mode. The X-ray mode now fades in front of the overlays correctly. And that's about it. However, the reason to show to, well, first, it's because it was a huge project. So thanks, developers. But also to, in case you see anything weird, anything that is not working as expected, please report. User interface. Expose the lock rotation property in the sidebar panel. Oh, lock rotation in the sidebar panel? I guess it's... Ah, yes, here. View lock. The view lock panel in the sidebar, you can lock to 3D cursor, camera view, or the rotation, so you prevent from rotating. I think this is similar to what happens in the quad view. So if you have quad view enabled, which is view region, what is quad view? Oh, I can search quad view. I love it when I forget about Blender features and then I remember the Blender feature. So the quad view here basically has rotation disabled. And this was possible in with Python. You can already do it, but now it was never exposed. Look at this line of code. Maybe if my face is not in the middle here, it's yeah, just a one line adding the property that was never exposed. So nice. Let's go back to what is new in the extensions. Nothing is as new in extension. I think we shouldn't add empty sections. But someone asking who is in the 2%. That's another thing that happened last year, which was pretty awesome, was the campaign for the 2%. The 2%, you should watch Ton's presentation at the Blender conference last year, but basically less than 0.1% of the users of Blender contribute to Blender, like donate to Blender in the last year when we did the math, just with rough numbers. And the campaign at the end of the year was to bring awareness to this. And then, hey, what happens if we actually, just 2% of the users would donate any amount? And doing the math, that would be like double the size of what Blender makes now. So that would be huge. So okay, let's do that campaign. And we actually did rerun the campaign. You probably seen a bunch of memes, a bit too many sometimes, but some of them were really effective. Some of them were really, like this one was very popular. The Blender is free, and the Blender is free is on Twitter was a lot more popular. This is a new account on Blue Sky, but yeah, many people joined, so much so that there was a video called Blender Financial Travel or something like that. Yes, by Film Stop. And thanks to this video, the donations skyrocketed. As in, you can see in the development fund, now we show a graph where you can see the daily donations. Here there was also another spike, I don't know, for some reason, on the 8th of January. But here on the December 28th. And the video was published on the 27th of December. So yes, pretty huge. Thanks to this one video, a lot of people realized that Blender relies on this, and it's pretty nice. When Blender, I'm just sharing something else, and then I go back to what's new. In the release of 4.3, in the press releases, I usually mention the number of donations, and for 4.3 it was around 4,800 individuals, and for 4.2 it was 4,400 individuals, so 400 difference. In 4.1 it was 4,800 again. So in 4.1 and 4.3 it was the same. It went down for 4.2, and then for 3.6 it was 3,250. So it was really hard to get that number up, and thanks to this one video, it happened. So pretty happy to say that now we are past 7,000 individuals, and 36 corporates stay the same, but the goal is for more individuals to take over the percentage of donations. So in case 1, 2, 4 corporates fall, Blender community can still support Blender and stay independent. So that's super nice to see. Thanks everyone. But other than that, also, did you know that Qualcomm joined? Volkswagen was there for a while, but Qualcomm, it's that's kind of big. They even showed it in the presentation of their latest the Snapdragon X Elite. They show Blender before any other software, before all the other render engines and whatever. First software they show in their presentation, official keynote, it's Blender. So nice. Let's cut with the side tracking. Let's go back to what is new in Blender as of last year. All right, so we switched gears to geometry nodes. The limit surface option for the modifier is available in the subdivision surface node. Neat. The normal input node now outputs proper face corners instead of just the face normals. The collection and the object input nodes having added 2 new nodes. Oh, by the way, pro tip, whenever in the release notes of geometry nodes, whenever you see a node name in bold, it means it's a new node. In this case, new collection and object input nodes. Find in string, also it's a new node to find it string. That's actually super nice. So input collection, nice. The same for object, and then find in string. Nice. String search. Not a big fan that string is full width and then search is not full width. But yeah. And then the node name is called find, but the input is called search. Join geometry and realize instances now preserve the vertex group status of nice. It preserves the vertex group status of the input attributes. That's pretty big. Text overlay in the 3D view works for matrix attributes now. Performance. Porting the triangulate node from BMesh to mesh gave over between 30 and 100% performance improvement. What? So nice. Wow. So something that used to take, I don't know, 54,000 milliseconds, so 54 seconds I guess, now it's 332 milliseconds. Huge. That's amazing. Thank you, Hans. That's so cool. So the triangulate node is faster, but the sort elements node is also now 50% faster in common scenarios. Neat. Node editor, the wording node, now has a dynamic label depending on the selected type. Yes. This is a new node in 4.3, I believe. So now the label will change depending in which type it has. Nice. Thank you, Cian Terrell. Snapping is supported when resizing nodes horizontally, like I've shown before. So this one was by Habib, by the way, new developer. It's not a new developer, it's a developer that is new to the Blender project in the HQ here. Not new to the Blender for the project, but to the HQ. He's now here, moved to Amsterdam, and is now working full-time on the Compositor. He's a full-time developer. Well, nodes in general, like the node editor in general, but mainly the compositor as of now. Grease. Pencil. New draw mode. Added stroke placements back from 4.2. 4.2 LTS. We should every... no, I need to log in. Anyways, reminder developers, every time you mention an LTS version, you should say LTS. It's part of the name. It's not added. Which actually reminds me that I want to mention this, that the Blender installer on Windows, the icon should be called LTS also, the 4.2 LTS. Okay, operators that were missing in Blender 4.3. Added the fixed sample and merge modes from the simplify operator back. Added the set start point operator back from 4.2, lasso box erase operators also back. Python API added a setter for the drawing property. Added a new property is expanded for layer groups. Added a function to reorder strokes in drawing. Added a color tag in a property to layer groups that exposes the color tag. That is already there, but now it's exposed in Python. And the influence vertex group was removed from the texture mapping modifier. Switch to modeling and UV. The select linked pick operator L and Shift L now supported for curves in edit mode. Nice. Select poles adds a new select by trait option to select all 3 poles, 5 poles. Given the impact of 3 and 5 poles in topology, the operator default is to select all the poles which do not have 4 edges to allow easy inspection. Nice. Who said there's no modeling updates? Okay, it's a small thing, but yes. Select by pole count, a new operator. Neat. Next. Thanks everyone for the nice comments. BlenderToday live. Yes, BlenderToday is back, and it's hopefully gonna stay for a while. New topology influence for joint triangles. Joining triangles to quads can now prioritize quad dominant topology. So joining triangles favors creating quads that form a grid. Oh, that sounds nice. So whenever it can do a quad, it will favor that. The new parameter, topology influence, is added that causes the joint triangles operator to prioritize edge joints that create quads with sensible geometry relative to the existing quads, instead of selecting the flattest or the squarest next pair and then leaving leftover triangles with no partners to merge with. This is awesome. Thank you, Jason. He also made the other feature that I just mentioned. Look at all the support. That's so cool. Well, thank you, Jason. I wasn't aware. I hope to see more of you. The modeling module, the modeling community, I bet they are really grateful because this module needs love and attention. Thank you. All right, next. In pipeline assets and IO, USD animated volumes created procedurally in geometry nodes are now supported during export. Material displacement support has been added to the USD preview surface for both import and export. Point instancers with time varying attributes are now supported. Python hooks, import, export, added. New import options for importing merge, for a merge parent X form on import, and to apply the unit conversion scale as well on import USD. The same or an equivalent was added for exporting as well. GLTF, new features when importing. You can now import the scene extras or not, and to select an option to select or not the created objects, and a bunch of fixes. In the exporter, there is a new feature to always bake the scene animation, GLTF, So the driven animated properties can now be exported. And there's a bunch of fixes as well. In the Python section, there are breaking changes. Blender-based Python classes constructions. You can read more here in the paint section and the GPU as well when drawing polylines. You should check out the documentation for this. The grease pencil section API as well has a one change because the influence vertex group was removed from the texture mapping modifier. Sequencer, okay, big changes in the sequencer when I mentioned this at the end in Python. And actually in terms of new features as well. Next, curves also changes nodes, Blender as a Python module, so Blender pip. Also, it optionally provides access to the VFX libraries used by Blender. Nice. Such as Material X, OpenImage.io, PyOpenColor.io, PyOpenVDV, and PXR. Next, rendering. One change. Speed up selected to active texture baking. That's awesome. Tobias, what did you do? Speed up. 4.4 4K textures, the single-threaded implementation took over 100 seconds, which made up most of the bake time. So this has been sped up now. Awesome. So these are the numbers. This is great. I didn't know there was someone working on improving baking in Blender. Nice. The next section, Sculpt, Paint, and Texture, has a few changes. In brushes, cloth brushes now have the persistent option off by default. The grab random cloth and grab cloth now use the local simulation area by default. Operators, entering sculpt mode, and the operator is prevented for invisible objects. No way. That's wow, nice. I don't know if you remember, but if you could switch the mode, the sculpt mode, for invisible objects. What can possibly go wrong, right? Next, the rebuild VVH operator no longer adds an undo entry. Okay, there must be reasons for that. You can read more in there. The frame selected renamed to frame last stroke inside sculpt, vertex paint, weight paint, and texture paint. Which makes sense, right? There is no selection when you're painting, so it was renamed. Just a change, just a name. Don't panic if you don't find the operator. The brush stroke, vertex paint, weight paint operators now have an override location property to force operators to calculate stroke positions based off the provided mouse event values. Neat. Okay, so that's... Oh, nice. So you can paint and override the location of that paint somewhere else. Interesting. Keymap. The sample color operator has now a new default keybind, Shift-Control-X in texture paint to sample the merged color. In the user interface side of things, the asset browser has new operators, new options. One, the option to sort assets by asset catalog instead of name. And this is a new default method. This was added a long time ago, but basically makes sorting a lot nicer. Because the previous sorting, it was just by name. So it would combine the it would be a bit of a mess basically, because it would be by name. So you could have, well, maybe you want that, but if you have multiple asset libraries that are asset catalogs, one for, I don't know, Sculpt, Grease Pencil, painting, those brushes, if sorted by name, you could mix them up, right? Like in this case, we have some geometry nodes next to brushes, next to tools, Grease Pencil in between, and that now there's a new option on by default which groups them, but sorted by name, but per catalog. So the sorting is a lot more consistent this way. Nice. You can always change that from the drop down. New operator to remove the preview of an asset. This is new. This was added 5 days ago, and basically allows you to remove a preview. So in case you are not happy with the preview set, actually there was no way to undo adding a preview. So hey, nice. Thank you. This was added by the community, right? Yeah, Dupoxy. Thank you, Dupoxy, for your feature. Brush names are now easier to read with the light theme. In other words, they are readable, not easier to read. Now they are readable, because before I would consider this a bug fix. So thank you, Yun Mitsutani, for fixing this. Basically, it was impossible to, very hard to read. Not impossible, but yeah. Next, files. Yes, default file names are now capitalized as untitled. It's a really small thing, but you see, it's the quality of life, you know. Full file name now shown on the recent item tooltip. Yes, this was I've seen this on right-click select, actually. So this should have been a bug report, but it was on right-click select. But luckily, both Harley and myself, we hang out in right-click select, so we've seen it. And I mentioned this to Harley, and Harley worked on it, and it's now in Blender. But basically, the tooltip didn't include the file name when you mouse over. So in this case, when the file was too long, the file name was too long, you wouldn't be able to see which file. So that was now fixed. So now you can see the file name and the rest. So thank you, Harley, for that. And thank you for reporting it in the first place. It was a feature request, but actually it should have been a bug report because it was a regression. I think it even got backported to 4.2, if I'm not wrong. Let's see. Fonts. Inter was updated to 4.1. Basically, the Blender UI font, nothing really new. It was just like nitpicking on spacing and small things. Improved the calculation of the text string length for monospace fonts. Neat. Calculation of text. It doesn't even work. But you can imagine. Improved selection of the fonts folder. Oh, nice. I never got it right. This is a fix. This should be mentioned as a fixed. General tooltips have improved vertical centering. Again, quality of life. If you look at the it's basically padding between the items. The status color also now works better when there's light backgrounds on the tooltip. The color tooltips now show property colors that are without alpha as well. So this was basically like better spacing. There was a gap in the top. Again, quality of life in terms of, like, you know, nitpicking. Then this, for example, the red color was not very readable. Now it is more readable. You can see that something is disabled and is red. Center dialogues can now be moved. This also was a contribution by the community, I believe, an alternative from Anirudh Bempati, added by Harley. And the bug report basically shows how you could have some menus that you can move, but it will always snap back. As you move the mouse, boom, it will snap back to the center. Not anymore. This has been fixed. Pop-up information alerts like Python script adjust width based on contents. Wow, this I missed, but it's really welcome. The menu accelerators underlines now work with toggle. Oh, this is also a big one. Okay, so now this the content will, like the pop-up will scale to fit the content. Also super nice. this one again, I don't know if you ever noticed, but this type of, like on a menu, you can press the key that is underlined to execute that option, but it wasn't the case for toggles. I don't know if you noticed. In this case, this case maybe doesn't help that much, but it was also happening for quick favorites. So if you press Q and you have a menu of quick favorites, you couldn't execute. There was no underline. Now there is. So on one side, great. On the other side, some of the underlines have changed. So yeah, either muscle memory got, well, muscle memory always breaks when things change position in the menus. But yeah, just a reminder. But hey, quick favorites now can be toggles can now be executed with shortcuts. Nice. Status bar notifications are now truncated when very long. Yep, text could be very long. Oh, so this is how it was before? Okay, so basically it was not even visible. And now it fits, it was just truncated to fit the space. Wow, again, quality of life, right? Adjust last operation becomes unavailable after undoable interactions with UI elements. I didn't know this one. But there were 3 bug reports from 2020, 2019, and they were fixed last week. So if you have bug reports from 2019 or around those dates or even before, keep in mind developers are actually going over old bug reports as well. Increased contrast for transform cursors. Also, this is... Ever notice that how sometimes the when you're rotating or changing the scale, and then you have these cursors with the arrows, they were hard-coded to black, so they were hard to see. Now they are white, as in the other cursors, no longer hard-coded. So thank you, nice. Quality of life. Larger alternative version of the frame cursor with high DPI displays. Actually, oh wait, no, it's not this one. Okay, this is a bug. Harley, I don't know if you're watching, but this has the same commit. This means the you know, when you render and you see these numbers like a square with mono spaced numbers for showing the progress, something that Blender has since forever. Well, that now works with high DPI displays. Batch rename, I already mentioned this one. Rename masking property to better reflect its usage. Yes, masking. I think there was also a copy paste error. So the option for masking, the masking property used to be restrict view, and Gabriel Gazan noticed this and is now changed to from restrict view to invert, which is what it does. 3D viewport. The default color for the front face orientation overlay has changed to transparent. Yep. So now you can have this enabled at all times, and it's not gonna bother unless yeah, this is a theme setting. This, you could do this already in many since Blender 2.8. But now it's by default, it's no longer blue, the face orientation overlay. You can still bring it back if you want. You can change it, no issues there. But yeah, this was requested on right click select. There was a one of the proposals of Andrew Price recently on a presentation at the conference. So this has been mentioned in the past. This right click select proposal is from 2023. So yeah, nice to see it tackled. The mesh indices overlay is now always visible. Yeah, ever noticed? I made this one actually, because I also saw someone mentioning it, that you had to enable developers extras in the user preferences in order to have the indices indicator shown in the viewport. Now you no longer have that because it doesn't make any sense. Indices are actually needed and used a lot now with geometry nodes, but this feature, you have to understand this feature was added forever ago, before Python scripts were like, before add-ons were a thing. Like, this is really old. So not anymore. Now they're always there. Notification shown when hiding object. This is another thing that Andrew Price mentioned time ago, which you would press H to hide something, but you wouldn't know. Maybe you press it by mistake because you wanted to press G and H is right next to it in some QWERTY layouts keyboard. So now you get a notification with how many objects were hidden, which is nice. Always, feedback is always nice. So you press H, and then you get objects hidden. Neat. Which other operators could use notifications? You can't add it to everything, otherwise then you don't look at there anymore. The measure tool now can be deleted when gizmos are off. Nice. Text objects. Using text object with a non-default font, missing characters are no longer loaded from other fonts. So now you're gonna have question marks, I guess, when something doesn't exist, just to show you that something is wrong. Again, feedback, important. Collections can now be set to disabled in the viewports. Wait. Oh, nice. You can disable in the viewports also. Wait, wasn't this possible? Oh, maybe it's just exposing the feature. Yeah, hide viewport. And okay, and some more tweaks here, but interesting. Nice. Awesome. It's great to go over what's new. I am learning so much. Actually, this is one of the reasons why I went, I restart also BlenderToday, because I don't know what's new. Okay, next. The using text object with a missing valid font characters no longer. This is the same feature but twice with a non-default or a missing invalid font. Okay, that's. Blender can now play animation while in Sculpt mode. Okay, nice. So what, to sculpt and animate at the same time? So you're animating and then you're just sculpting? You leave them out. It's like that Simpsons episode when he's rotating. I'm gonna rotate, and if you get close, you're gonna get punched. Well, same with you rotate, you animate the character and you leave the brush there, and it should do some sculpting animation. Viewport render animation now shows a progress bar. Neat. So no longer, well, the square indicator, monospace text indicator is no longer used for the viewport render animation. Now it shows the jobs system. So it shows in the taskbar of Windows, Mac, and some Linux operating systems, as well as Blender's progress bar. Neat. The brush tool fall-off preset, this is new. This, you're not gonna find it on your BuildBot build from yesterday because it was added today, like a few hours before this live stream. But basically in the proportional editing popover, all the options are exposed, whereas in the fall-off for the brush and tool settings, they were not. So now they are there, expanded for consistency. And also it saves you one click, which over the lifetime of a Blender user might save you from one whole mouse replacement. Editors. Resizing the editors now softly snaps to minimum and maximum. Oh, nice. the okay, there's no video showing this. I usually make a video. This is on me, that's my fault. But resizing an editor now snaps to minimum and maximum. So basically you could make editors that were way too small to be useful. So I don't know if you ever noticed it, but this is again quality of life improvement, because in Blender, having an editor that is small as this not always helps. So now, like, having halfway not always helps. So now this is a minimum. Sometimes you want this, okay, but now when you scale it, when you for example, if you want to divide this timeline, you can divide it, and then it will divide. The minimum size is slightly bigger, which happens in the case of the timeline. Not saying this was purposely done, or maybe it was. Yes, it was. It fits exactly the size of the timeline that fits the play buttons plus the seeking part of the editor without the scroll bars showing. This is also another quality of life improvement that Harley did recently, which is when the scroll bar doesn't fit, hide it. Nice. The attention to detail of Blender developers, oh my gosh. Improved round edge for splitting the preview. Yes, around the edges. This was introduced in 4.3. I don't know if you knew that one, but the edges of an editor can now be adjusted to be something else. Like you can even specify like a color, like so when you move around you see which one is active. So this is for accessibility. I don't think many people will use it this strong, but this is for accessibility, for especially for people with like reduced vision. This might help. Docking operation feedback descriptions improved. Yes, when you docking, one of the new features in Blender 4.3 is that you can, for example, move the outliner from here all the way to here. And now the tooltip is better. It says move area here or replace this area. I think the text on the first implementation wasn't as clear. So now it is move area here. And I don't know if you noticed, but now it snaps to halfway point. Look. So snaps to 50%, full, 50%, or you can also hold control and it will snap to a specific size and then move the outliner over here. So nice. Minimum size imposed for docking operations, creation of the new editor, what I mentioned before. Splitting improvements including soft snapping and minimum size increase for the editors, snapping, using separate specific mouse cursors for join operations. So when you want to join these, you want to join right or left, then you have a cursor, basically a different cursor. When you split something in different, you see this arrow? Okay, so this is new, the arrow. And then a hand, and then split, a bunch of cursors. The attention to detail. I don't know if people pay attention to this, but I love this when the cursor tells you what's going to happen beforehand. And I'm a big fan of the hand in Blender also. Like this, like when you click drag on macOS, you have this hand. I think on Windows too. Correct shortcuts now shown when hovering over the editor change button, and scroll bar properly hidden for tiny editors. What I mentioned before. Spreadsheet. The selection filter for meshes gives expected results for non-vertex domains. Neat. Nodes. The sidebar is see-through of the node editor. Did you notice that now you can have nodes that go around here? Before it used to be like this whole section used to be like dark. Now you can actually see through. Nice. So you can keep this open more often. Which other editor would benefit from that change? Let me know. Panels in node groups can now be nested. Nice. I don't know if you know that. Today I think I'm gonna just show more things. It's the first one of in a while, so why not? So basically, geometry nodes, when you make a node group in here, when you add a new panel, you can nest them into sub panels. So now you know. The name input in the attribute node in the shader editor is wider now. So basically there should be, instead of having this name semicolon or colon, now is full width. And I think more nodes could benefit from it. Sivran, did you already show slotted actions? Yes, I did. Thanks, Folk. I have developers from the studio here watching the show live. Yes, I am going in chronological order, so alphabetical order and chronological in a way. Animation and rigging was mentioned at the very beginning, so I am almost done. Stay with me. Long multi-column listing nodes will now collapse to a single column when space is limited. Oh yes, do you remember this beautiful wall of options? Well, now it actually snaps to scrollable wall. Thank you. So many quality of life improvements. Input values that don't affect the output. Oh, this one. It got merged. Yeah, 5 hours ago. Awesome. Look. So basically, so wait. Can I open it in a new tab? No, I don't want to save it. Okay. So look how when the node changes, the input changes, the value gets grayed out or not. And the same here in the modifier. Beautiful quality of life improvement. Awesome. Because basically you need it tells you already which sockets, which inputs you shouldn't even bother tweaking. So nice. And this is what more with the oh, even with enums. So cool. Oh wow. It's like a custom UI. Yeah, with an enum. And with booleans too. That's so cool. This was just committed, by the way, so you're not gonna find it in the build from the build bot like now. You just need to wait until tomorrow or later. I would say in 8 hours or so. So nice. And I bet this is probably the first step into making it like hiding those options or not. Right now it's only graying them out. Outliner, improved outliner vertex group sorting. Wait, what happened with the sorting? 2 months ago. It's a bug report from November. So sorting. We'll take the ID. Okay. Sort alphabetically. Ah, all right. So huge bug fix. Outliners now supports Ctrl-Shift for excluding collections. Nice. No more overlapping icons in the outliner with some display options. Ah, yep. I think I remember this one. Yes. It made for fun icons now. And then cannot unisolate collection when a linked collection is present. A bit of a... Okay, for some reason project of BlenderToday is a bit slow at the moment, but it's a fix for unisolating collections fails in presence of linked collection. Okay, nice, by Pratik. Thank you, Pratik. New. Properties editor. 3 views no longer forget they change height after all. This is so nice. Have you ever noticed how if you change the height of these selectors, for example, this 3 view, it would always go back to its, well, it would forget that you resized them, so it was a bit annoying. 3 view displays lines correctly when local zoom changes. When developers mention 3 view, it's usually this that look like a UI, like a list of material shape keys, but it's slightly different because it's a different implementation internally. Ideally, in the future, this 3 view will replace the old ones when it's feature complete. UI list can now be sorted in reverse alphabetical order. Wow. Was that reported as a bug as well? Or because I probably, because no new features should be added to UI list because they will be replaced. But yeah, it was reported in 2021 that you could not sort alphabetically and inverted, and now you can. So nice. A bug fix from bug report from 2021. Improved tab key navigation between inputs in the color picker. Nice, so you can press tab, tab, tab to go down. This is again from 2021. Now you can tab, tab, tab and it will work as expected. Whereas before, Sergey actually reported it in 2021. Wow. Opening context menu from the medical input now shows correct mouse cursor. Custom integer properties no longer have minus 10,000 or 10,000s of minimum and maximum. What is the value now? Ah, okay, now it has int min and int max. So anything that is already standard in Blender. Improve the container codec ordering and FFmpeg video dropdowns. It was by Ares. Nice, sorted with the dividers. Thank you, Ares. Reset to defaults now works with camera field of view. Mesh cache modifier flip axis toggles now work correctly. Nice. Preferences. The more user preferences now result to actual defaults. Nice. So when you do right click reset to default, many properties will just not reset to the default. That's so cool. Thank you, Harley, for working on it and for yeah, tackling this. That's so just 4.4 is the release. The release. Language translation options are now preserved when changing languages. Hey, this was a big bug report actually. I didn't know. So now when you switch languages, the options stay. Preference for UI icon alpha no longer affects matcaps and studio lights. Thank you. Minimum user scale preference increased to 0.5. Ah yeah, it was possible to have a very small user scale UI and just didn't work. So now the minimum 0.5. Studio Lights editor interface layout now looks a lot better because it basically it went from this to this, the actual columns. Does anybody actually uses this feature to edit the Studio Lights? Let me know. Animation. Animated values for node sockets, and geometry nodes input have more input. Oh, this is awesome. Have more useful names in the spreadsheet editor. So when you set a, wow, that's so cool. So when you animate values inside of a node tree, this actually now shows you the value and the name of the in this case, I think it's the name of the node. The name, yeah, so the value, the name of the node, and the name of the modifier where it's coming from. An integer, the name of the node, my grade node. And that's so cool. That's so cool. I don't know if you remember, but this used to be default value, default value, default value, default value. Wow, that's amazing. This alone It's animation 2025. Done. So cool. Thank you, Hans. This is a bug report from 2021. So basically, here you can see that it was input 2, input 3, input 4, input 5. Very helpful. Bug fixed. All right, next. Auto keyframe toggle now works better if assigned a keyboard shortcut. Tooltips can now show while animation is playing. Yes. Ever notice that when you're playing animation you cannot see tooltips? Improved feedback timing during animation playback timer test. Improved current frame indicator styling in the movie clip and the image editor. Attention to detail all over the place. This is by Adas again. So cool. So basically the indicator. I was using the old style and now it's using the actual. Yes. So I don't know if you see it. Okay, this is for the end. Yes. So it went. Okay, now it looks like an actual down here. Like the indicators, again, the attention to detail. And that's my fault, I think, because I did the UI change for the indicator in the timeline back in 2.8 days, and I didn't do that one. I didn't do the movie clip. So thank you, Ares. Platforms, Windows, copy and paste OS image paths into the image editor. Now you can paste a path and it will paste into the image editor. That's cool. Awesome. Paste a path, get an image on Windows. Windows, file system volume names displayed correctly with high-bit Unicode characters. macOS, fixed title bar icon not being clear when creating a new file. macOS, improved color picking outside of Blender windows. And Linux, fixed text spacing from Blender to uncertain other applications, such as Firefox, not working under X11. So I think this is the new color picker in Mac OS outside of Windows. So nice. So nice. No reason not to use 4.4. And we still have one more section. Gee. Video sequence editor. Okay, let's get through it because then I even have questions. Okay, let's when I make peace with the fact that this is gonna be a 2-hour live stream. Next one, I promise, will be shorter because there's really not much new to share with Blender. It's just gonna be a hangout, I think. Let's go to the user interface side of things in the video sequence editor. This is huge. Text strips can now be edited directly in the preview area. No longer just in the sidebar. Go to where the action happens. Click, click. Text editing in the sequencer preview. So awesome. Thank you, Richard, for working on it. It's amazing. It's amazing. Text strips with word wrapped or multi-line text can now properly do left, center, right alignment within each line. Awesome. So now you have anchor and alignment per line. Text strip background fill box got an option to have rounded corners. This was Kit Kat. Thank you. Look at that roundness. So cool. Attention to detail again. And let's look at the center text. This is also awesome. This is amazing. I know it's common for other software again, but Blender video sequence editor getting this. So nice. Text strip UI uses collapsible panels for the outline, shadow, and box. This is a just UI change that instead of having one long list of all the options in just shown there, now it's slightly longer, but it is in panels, sub-panels. So you know, if you don't care about shadow box, you don't have to look at those settings. Just collapse the panel. Neat. Snapping now works with the retiming keys. Strips can also be snapped to the retiming keys. Snapping improvements, nice. Strip images can be duplicated in the preview area. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Ramon Clark. Wow, this happened. Okay, in December. I was on holidays. That's why I didn't notice. I've been wanting this forever. So you should select a strip, well, an image, and then Shift D, Shift D, Shift D. So cool. So cool. I want that in the outliner if anybody is looking, watching. The outliner. Imagine Shift A, the outliner, Shift D, the outliner. Add effect menu has been reorganized. With improved polling, effects may now be added to connected strips without erroring. Hey, nice. If sound strips are present in the selection. Next, performance. Building proxy for images sequences is now faster. I have a feeling that this was, yes, by Ares. So how much faster are we talking? So something that had 94 4K EXRs went from 13.4 seconds to 10 seconds. 10.3. Nice. Improvements, performance, yay. Preview playback for of float HDR content is also faster now, again by Ares. Something that used to take or that used to have 28 frames per second, now is 70 frames per second. Much faster. Text strip background fill box is now several times faster for large fill areas, again Ares. Without roundness, 25 milliseconds now takes only 4. Roundness of 9 that used to take 94 minutes. Okay, so here we are learning that roundness doesn't come for free. It makes rendering slower or playback slower, but now it's a lot faster. Not as slow, but still slow. A bit of roundness is okay actually, from 4 milliseconds to 5.8 milliseconds, so that's pretty good. So yeah. Curves, hue correct, and white balance modifiers are now up to 2 times faster now. 1.5 or 2 times. Nice. Again, who's that? Aras. Thank you, Aras. You can see the whole numbers here in the commit logs. Videos can now be rendered using H.265 and high efficiency video codec. Not bad. 10 and 12-bit videos are supported now. Hey, are we rendering HDR now? High dynamic range videos. 10 and 12 bits. When rendering, there is an option for 10 or 12 bit color depth for supported codecs. Videos rendered from Blender adding BT709 color space now. Video playback YUV RGB conversion is more accurate now, fixing color shifts and banding in dark regions. So this, with the line there, went to this. Oh, nice. These big lines now is gone. Much less quantization and no darkening. Awesome. Thank you, Ares. Video file display rotation metadata is respected now. If you had worked around it previously, you will need to undo the additional transform rotation. Nice. So if you it is, this wins everything. So this is a vertical video, right? Shoot with a phone, I suspect, and blend that metadata that tells the video the orientation is now followed by Blender. Other proxies for EXRs, image strips now work properly without losing range or precision. Float image proxies are internally saved as EXRs with DWAI compression and 16-bit float data type. Copying strips or creating meta strips now automatically includes effect change instead of erroring. Isn't that nice? Awesome. Python API changes, breaking changes. This is a huge one. It doesn't break much as expected for 4.4, but for 5.0 it will be deprecated, the old way of calling strips. Blender previously used to call strips sequence, which was very confusing. Not anymore. All right. That's everything in Blender 4.4. Not even everything, because as I mentioned, there's so many bug fixes and they keep coming in. 1 minute ago, add action slot selector for movies clips. So yeah, there are new things coming. Use open color IO for luminance, test, geometry nodes, fixes. The winter of fixes is here. Season of fixes, winter of code quality is here. So, how are you? How many comments? Are there 11 comments on the thread that I made? I think I can make it before 7 p.m. before the 2-hour cut. I'm glad to see you staying here until the end. By the way, thanks to Fred that made this post earlier this week or last week about missing BlenderToday and the nice comments. I also miss BlenderToday, really. It's just I didn't know what was going on with Blender anymore. So it's good to be back. All right, as always, I'm gonna scroll all the way back to the very first comment, however this is sorted. Yes. And let's see what people are commenting. This is not the only video. I call it Blender 2025 just as a recap, but it's not the only one of 2025, okay? We're gonna continue doing this. It's the first stream. No rush, please. Yes, like Sansul says in the chat. I'm gonna include the chat here on the side so you see that I'm actually reading you. Saludos, Argentina. Hey, mate. Hi, Pablo. Happy to see you live stream again. I missed this a lot. Thank you, Camelion. I have a double question. If you went back to 2015 and told your past self, in 10 years, Blender 5 comes out, what would past Pablo say? And if you ask 2050 Pablo what his version of Blender, what do you think? All right, so if I went back to 2015 and I told in 10 years Blender 5.0 comes out, past Pablo will say, okay, it's about time. It's about time. Version numbers are just venture numbers, right? Especially in the Blender world. And for this release cycle, we're not going to see past 4.5 actually. Is it that good? Is that bad, right? If we went from 3.0 to 5.0 and how much has changed? A lot. A new EEVEE, a new grease pencil, a new animation system, there are reasons to do big jumps, but also it's a signal to the outside world to see that how fast things are moving, and it gives a chance to developers to keep Blender lean and clean, do cleanups, remove all parts of Blender that are no longer maintained, and keep Blender fresh and up to date. Blender and open source can have that luxury of doing this, so we should use it, because you can use any Blender version until forever. So it's okay to keep Blender. Otherwise, you end up like those big software from 30 years ago that still have code from 30 years ago and have to maintain it because they depend on big companies and studios using it, and they need to keep the license. So it's good that Blender does it. And okay, and if you ask 2050 Pablo what his version of Blender, 2050 Pablo, well, if he's still around, he will probably be stuck in 2.4 because he couldn't switch from the vertical to the horizontal layout. I'm very happy with how Blender is going. Thanks. Daniel Lapalm says, a quick hop on YouTube and I nearly cartoon eyes popping out of head. Nice to see you, Pablo. Hope all is well. Everything is going well. Thank you. I hope stopping BlenderToday didn't came out as I was leaving Blender or whatever. I was working. Actually, since this year, you can actually stalk my progress on Blender. Actually, you can see what I've done. Well, not everything, because meetings, many things are not here, but I made a script I copied a script from Jack and I extended it to cover some of the progress, the things that I do. So you can see, so February, for example, you can see I did 62 commits on this week. On what? Blender? Well, not really, the extensions website. They did a lot of website. And then 120 commits in February for the extensions website. Do you do any Blender stuff? Yes, look, I did review 6 pull requests here. I made 2 here. So you can actually see, not mine, but everyone's progress in the forums, on meetings, on updates, weekly updates. You go to the week, and then at the bottom you can find what everyone has done. For example, well, here's my name. Siren is in the chat. You can see what he's been working on. Probably you're gonna find a lot of the animation module stuff, but also new projects working on. For example, other online asset repositories, Flamenco, and all the progress of every developer, where your precious donations money is going. Looking at the project for 2025, it's actually kind of comically looked like some things were chosen a bit hastily, but nonetheless, so many goodies to get excited about. I think it's going to be a great year. Thanks for all the work you do. Here in this case, I think Daniel is referring to the projects to look forward to. The projects that were picked here, some of them are already ongoing, so that's the easy ones, because otherwise, like, why are we trying to come up with new projects when there's some projects that never made it, and they were announced forever ago? The interactive mode, where's that? Texture layers, texture material layers, and where are those? It's just some projects have more priority over others. Not every developer can work on every part of Blender, right? Like there are, I mentioned this in the past, but every developer has their specialty usually, or their area where they work. So we are aware that how lacking the texture side of Blender is, and we hope more developers join now that we have more support from the community that can help with that area. It's tough. It's a tough area, and it's long awaited. Echo says, "Hi Pablo, happy to see you back. Happy to see you around, and thanks for supporting the Sprite Fright Open Movie project. I know that Blender is focusing on fixes rather than developing new features. Yes, but do you think it is possible to develop a feature to allow enabling disabling object per view layers? Because the current way to do it is a bit painful. But you can do that with collections. Collections are a way to disable objects per view layer, and because every view layer has a list of collections on off, and you can have multiple view layers with multiple collections with different states each one, and you can have objects in multiple collections at the same time. So exclude objects from view layers. Exclude an object from a view layer. Put them in a... Okay, you got some support here. I haven't read this, and can you mention maybe... I'm gonna keep it here to read, but just to finish this live stream before the 2-hour length, I wonder what is lacking in the current system that you cannot disable, that you cannot add your objects that you want to a separate, to an additional collection that you disable, because objects can be in multiple collections, many as you want. But I'm gonna keep this and read your proposal. Thanks. Sansul says, "Hey Pablo, you probably don't remember." Of course I remember you. Like I know your avatar, and I've seen you on YouTube. So you always support Blender and say nice things, even in those videos that attack Blender in some way or another. So thank you for that. I'm a guy who used to ask long questions, but I don't have any questions today. Just happy to see you back doing live stream again. Hope you're doing well. Maybe drink some water meanwhile. I am, well, it kind of water, it's tea. But you're right, I should drink water. And you should too. David says, is Blender going to implement... Hi, David. How are you? How's been your year? Is Blender going to implement some kind of AI? And what do you think about the future where prompt will create 3D art and models? Not really thrilled about that future for 3D art. I still things are a bit far in the future. Blender going to implement some kind of AI. Blender already has AI for the denoiser, and ideally it should have some AI for those tasks that require it, like UV mapping, like some rigging, some automation, machine learning. You know, not every AI is bad. Machine learning of with your own model that you create from your usage, it's something that Blender should have at some point. You can watch the Blender Conference 2024 roadmap, Blender overview by Francesco and Sergey. You should watch that. Next. Hi again, Pablo. Hope you're doing great. Will Blender Community still be discontinued? Yes. Do you have any other plans for this year? Thank you very much. Animation, everything. So great, delicious, project baklava. Yes. This message about communities will soon be discontinued, that was added last year by Francesco and myself, and we still want at some point. We just didn't have time. There were other things to focus on. But this website I'm using right now, Blender Community, is long due for an update. We are considering, like, Blender communities themselves probably not gonna come back by us. The one community that we want to keep is right-click select, because there is so much precious feedback from users here. I use this, I visit this every day, and I try to answer to the ones that that I can. For example, someone asking for a modifier, mesh to curve, but you can do this already with geometry nodes. So hey, you can do this geometry nodes, mark it as an asset, and then you can reuse it, right? So, you know, I try to do my part, and you're welcome to join as well. The website is going to be discontinued because it's just a pain in the to update, to maintain, and it's so full of spam. I have no idea the amount of spam that there goes on this website. So we want to replace it maybe with this course with some plugins, but basically bring right-click select to a new platform, more official too, because right-click select is not an official place. So maybe make it more Blender official maintained, and we'll see. This year, for sure. Yeah, we say that last year. Fred says, nice to see you and hear about news. Happy 2025 and hope this live thing goes on. Yes, it will go on. I think I want to. I'm not gonna. I don't want to come back like every week like last year, because it was a bit much. Even today, I was planning to do something and it's like, oh no, I have the live stream. So yeah, next. It gets on the way a bit, but I think it has an impact on the Blender community that is worth it. Emre said, hi Pablo, hope you're doing great. I miss the stream so much. Thank you. My question, I wanted to ask if there is going to be a fix for the Amaranth add-on. I love your add-on so much, but sadly it's not working in the extension platform. I already created a bug report. I saw your bug report. I am sorry. I use Amaranth. I have it enabled here. Well, probably you've seen it. I don't run into the bug reports into the bug that you have, but here's my public request for help, because I don't really know how to fix it. It's a problem with the registration, and if you look for Amaranth in the report issues section here, you can find the code. I tried to fix it. Actually, the last commit is about fixing this, but I don't know what's going on. So public request for help with Python. This is when I was trying to update it and I thought I fixed it, sorry. Next. But yeah, I plan to maintain it. The last question by Surudjen says, glad to see you stream again. In terms of physics, particles and overall node-based dynamics, how far away do you think we are from seeing a node-based replacement for the old physics systems? Not that far, because it is one of the projects to look forward to in 2025, this year. Aerodynamics will be the first in the list, but basically it includes physics with nodes, so node-based physics. So it is the first of many, but yeah, the idea is to replace the particle hair system with dynamics. So that will be the first one. And that is all. I nearly 2 hours in, so I hope everyone is doing okay. I make sure to rest. Yes. AI cannot replace effort. I'm reading your comments, by the way, here. Oh, this is GIMP. This is how I do mockups nowadays. When I need to do something fast, I just open GIMP and sorry, I'm gonna close this. Great to see everyone here in the chat. Thanks for dropping by, for staying until the end. I think this was a successful live stream, one way or another. We don't get to see, we don't got to hear the music at the beginning, technical issues, but I hope it works now at the end. Let's see. Okay, so if this works, the other music that you know will work. Thanks everyone for staying tuned. I will bring back the live streams. Let's try every other week. Every week is a bit much. Sometimes there's not even that many news, but it's just mainly to hang out. But it does get on the way. And also Mondays was maybe the worst day of the week to do it, because there is so much to catch up on Mondays usually, or events, or you come back from an event, you come back from holidays, you come back from anyway, like a long weekend. It just always gets on the way. So how about Tuesday? Tuesday, news day. Yeah, you know, what do you think about Tuesdays? 5 o'clock CET, Central European Time, as always, but every other week. So next week at this time, I usually have the, I do a lot of talking too, because I have the UI module meeting. But then the week after, what do you think? Every other week. Next week. Nice to see some people that remember. So the next episode should be on Tuesday, the 4th of February, which is the day that Blender 4.4 goes beta and the day that Blender 4.5 goes alpha. So the end of this fix. Now people are gonna continue fixing these things, but the winter of quality and then the beginning of a spring of fun. All right. Thanks everyone. I will see you again in a couple of weeks, in the week after this week, at the same place, definitely at the same time, for another episode of Blender Today Live. Watch your ear holes. Tell me you can hear it, please. Thanks everyone.